That's wishful thinking.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Wishful Thinking Podcast. As always, it's your hosts, Nick and Hadley. Want to say thank you to everybody for tuning in. Always, we got a very special program for you guys today. Good guy of ours, Santino Ciocca. What's going on, friend?
What's going on? Thanks for having me, boys.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming on.
For sure.
Yes, sir.
So before we get into it, give us a little bit of a brief intro of who you are, what do you do, etc.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm in the insurance sales business.
Okay.
Been doing it for about 4 years now. So essentially we do life insurance sales. Got into it on a whim, found it through social media. Just been doing it ever since. Yeah, it's pretty much it.
You're a little bit deeper than that, though. You travel the world a little bit.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
like to find the things of life.
Yeah, for sure. So we're able to work virtual. So we don't have to be in an office 3, 4, 5 days a week.
Yeah.
So we're able to make money from anywhere. So I at least try to take advantage of that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Definitely should. I mean, why not?
Yeah.
If you can make money in Costa Rica,
Go
why not?
wherever. Yeah.
Yep.
So what always works for us is we'll just start from the beginning. Walk us through. So did you always have a passion for insurance sales, or did you just kind of land into it?
Yeah. No, I don't
think
think
anybody has
yeah.
a passion for insurance
No one-
sales.
Man.
No one
3
wakes
years
up.
old.
No one really wakes up. It's like I'm gonna be an insurance agent, or even as a kid. For me, I knew more so what I didn't want to do, rather than having a clear vision on what I did want to do. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I knew I didn't want to work a normal 9 to 5. I knew I didn't want to have to drive somewhere to work 5 days a week.
Right.
I dropped out of college twice because I always hated school. So that's when I got into like the DJing stuff, was around that time when I dropped out of college. So that's what I was doing for a little bit, and like cleaning pools, working at Amazon in the wintertime.
Right.
And it was really music was like my main focus at the time. But as I got a little bit older, you got to start making some money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
with music, it's a little bit tricky to do that. It's pretty challenging.
100%.
So when I stumbled across the opportunity, the fact that it was remote, and then the fact that it was uncapped commissions, there wasn't a set like salary or income limit essentially, where you don't have to work there for 10, 15 years to be making like 10, 15, 20% more than when you started.
Right.
Right. So
where did you go to college at?
Kent State, the regional campus,
The one in Twinsburg?
Twinsburg, and then
I dropped out of a semester
yeah,
there too.
I had one
That place
semester
fucking
done.
sucks.
And then after that, I decided to go to the Tri-C's music production program. But when I got in there, I still had to take algebra, English,
Right.
science classes, and then I would have like a couple music courses like piano, guitar, like music theory. But I was still having to take all the stuff that I hated that had nothing to do with music.
So you're like, why? Like, what's the point
Yeah,
of doing
exactly.
all this? I'm not about to apply this to my everyday life. I'm
Exactly.
here for music.
Exactly.
Like,
And meanwhile, I'm learning how to like make beats on YouTube, you know, and it's
YouTube
teaching,
University.
and it's teaching me more than I was learning at the music production program.
Right.
So I'm like, this is a waste of money and time.
Right.
Like
this is new to me. So you make beats? Or you
not
did?
anymore. That I
you
did.
did.
I started off making like rap beats. You
Really?
know what I mean? I feel like everyone does, you know? And then it swayed into like EDM more so.
Okay.
Because you can make the rap beats, but then you got to find someone to rap on them. You
Right.
know what I mean? With EDM, you don't need
You don't need an extra artist.
You don't need it.
You are the
So,
artist.
Never looked at it like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So it became a little bit easier, you know?
With
'cause
the EDM, did you like have like sample noises? Because you know, like Skrillex and stuff, they'd put like
Yeah.
stuff from like movies or people screaming and stuff. Like, did you ever add stuff like that, or was
yeah.
it you did?
A lot of sampling.
Really?
Yeah. Sound effects and stuff.
Dang, that's sweet.
Yeah. From there, that's kind of what led into the DJing side of things.
Okay.
Um,
So now, when you were in high school, Nordonia,
Yep.
shout out Nordonia.
Shout out Nordonia. You shout out Nordonia every podcast.
We have a Nordonia person we got to. And when I get Denzel on here, I'm going to shout out Nordonia as well.
Facts.
But so when you were at high school in Nordonia, was there any particular focus in school that led to where you're at now? Or were you more music based? Were you taking anything like that?
Honestly, in high school, there was no focus on the future, to be honest.
You played basketball, right?
Yeah,
didn't you?
sports. Yeah, sports. But I visited like 2 colleges to potentially play baseball, like D3, you know, and then I went on a couple visits and they gave me the schedule. And I'm like, yeah, this ain't worth it. It was like 5 a.m. For me, I knew I wasn't going to go pro. you know.
So I'd like to pull it back a little bit to the beginning. So growing up in your house, did you have like the mother and father in your
Yeah,
house too? So
yeah.
you grew up with both parents.
Yeah.
Who would you think had like an impact on the life that you want to live now, and who like motivated you and put that mindset into
Yeah.
you to kind of make you want to live how you're living now?
Yeah.
Because obviously somebody would have had to put that there for you to be a kid. Like, I don't want to drive to work. I don't want to have to work for
Yeah.
anybody else and do
Yeah, for
my
sure.
own
Good
thing.
question. So when I first got into the business, like I said, it was mainly not having to drive to work, like little things. That's really not like a big like vision or anything. It's really small reasoning.
Right.
But then I got a little bit older, and like providing for a family is huge for me. So it would be my dad, obviously, who growing up, I'm blessed to have parents that have been together my whole life. They don't drink, smoke, none of that stuff. Healthy, happy marriage for a long time.
Nice.
But my dad's like the provider, gets up every single day. I saw him go to work, no matter if he wanted to or not. You know what I mean? So for me, growing up, seeing that, naturally, that's what I wanted to follow.
So I think that's a good lesson for everybody at home, and because a lot of our viewers are in our age range where we're 20 to 30. Some people don't have kids, some people do. It's a good lesson to, if you're a man, be a man regardless. Go to work if you don't want to, because one day you might have a kid like Santino who will look up to you, and then that'll fuel them in their future.
Exactly.
So I think it's a great lesson. Just keep working, keep grinding, even when you don't want to. Keep going, because it's not just for you; it's for everybody else.
Yeah,
100%. Yeah, you got to make the sacrifice for everybody else at that point. You're leading the house.
Exactly. Exactly.
You have no choice.
So are you still DJing?
Not really. I actually just sold my board like
Really?
2 weeks ago.
What kind of board did you have?
XDJ XZ.
Okay.
Yeah,
Nice.
just got rid of it. Yeah, just hard to find the time. You know what I mean?
Where were you like DJing at? Like, did
Yeah,
you have
so
like events and shit? Like
I
birthday
DJ'd
parties?
Town Hall once. I got like plugged in with EV. It was like for
Nice.
like this split second. I didn't really take it anywhere. I had no initiative with it. Just like one time. I was just so busy with my job. I would do like these little EDM shows on like Nelson's Ledges. That was like
Really?
when I first started. All the
Pretty
hippies out
sweet
there.
though. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, Evie's a great DJ. I saw
Yeah,
him in
he
person one time. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Because being a DJ, I DJ like weddings, parties, events. I'm not really a club DJ, though I could definitely survive in that. I don't want to be a club DJ. He's so good. And just seeing somebody like that is, so that's cool. He got plugged in with him, did a little town hall stuff. So you
That is
sold your
sweet.
board, no longer doing the DJ stuff. You're solely focused on what you're doing now.
Yeah, the business for sure.
So talk to us a little bit about the business. And for those at home who have watched more of our episodes, let's recollect a little bit on Mitch McCovic that came on. You guys are doing the same thing, basically, same company. You guys on the same team?
Now we are.
Now you are.
Really?
Yep.
Okay. Mitch, so if you guys haven't watched that episode, I'll drop a link right here.
Yeah.
Make sure you guys go watch that episode with Mitch. He dropped a ton of dimes, tons of great metaphors. He's got a great
He's got
outlook.
all these
I watched the whole
acronyms
thing.
and everything to do that.
So fun.
It was fire. I mean, we didn't even think that the podcast was going to go on that long, and he's just so easy to talk to. I've known Mitch for a while. He's a cool dude. So make sure you guys tune into that episode. But back to you. Walk us through a little bit of what you do, what's going on over there, how you and Mitch work together, etc.
Yeah, so there's kind of two different pathways in the business. One is just being a sales agent. So essentially your only responsibility is to contact clients and just produce yourself, your own sales, and that's it. The other pathway is you can get into a position of leadership, where essentially now you have the responsibility of training new agents, showing them how to obviously close deals and make money, and also just leading them towards whatever their goals are and help coach them to that. So that's the pathway I'm in now. It didn't start off like that, but now that's where I'm at. So I have like a team of guys and a few leaders. But yeah.
Nice. And how long did it take for you to get to that point?
Yeah. A few years, I would say. Like to actually where it started to actually do something.
Is there a milestone you have to hit in order to become the leader, or is it kind of just they just watch how you're doing and decide?
Yeah, kind of. You have to be able to sell consistently. You know what I
You have to
mean?
be successful in sales.
Yeah, you got to be able to showcase how to actually do the job.
Right.
When new people are coming in. Otherwise, they're going to have no clue how to do it. So it took me a few years. My first 12 months was pretty much a wash. I was still pretty distracted. You know what I mean? Still partying and stuff. But the reason I stayed is because I saw all these other people making money, and my leaders essentially were so bought in to their visions because they had been there for a little bit longer than I had, that I just knew if I just follow their lead, I'll end up in a good spot. You know what I mean?
And it's obviously paid off.
Yeah, it's going pretty well. Blessed for sure.
Do you regret it at all? Do you think you made the right decision in life going this route?
Picking this opportunity? Yeah, for sure. Definitely. Going back, to being able to provide, I think nowadays it's a lot different than when our parents grew up, or back in the day.
Yep.
You could have a salary paying job, it's a good job, 40 hours a week, and you could afford to buy a house, a nice home, and put food on the table. I think now, though, times have changed quite a bit.
Absolutely.
So for me, having the opportunity to not have a set limit on my income, just in the world we live in now, I think is super, super crucial.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people do struggle financially, obviously, and it's because there's the opportunity to make more isn't there. You could work a salary, you could work as hard as you possibly can, but you're not going to get paid any more money. Typically, it just takes years and years and years to finally get to that point. But in an industry like this, it's just performance-based and effort-based.
Yep.
Yep.
Now, I think a lot of sales are the same in terms of process. Doesn't matter what you sell, you're kind of doing the same thing. For those who don't know sales, who have maybe thought about getting into it, maybe they're an extroverted person, they're friendly, people like them, but they're kind of scared to take that leap into sales. Walk us through sales. How do you sell? And how could somebody get into sales if they maybe want to? Yeah,
for sure. So I honestly think the biggest thing, like the technical side of learning like how to sell, I think that's like the easy part. I think the harder part that people struggle with is, like you said, the fear of just getting into it. At least in our business, it's commission only. So there's no base pay. But that's the only way you can have uncapped income, and you can just make however much money as possible, essentially, because you don't have the base pay. Right, so a lot of businesses will pay their sales guys a salary plus a certain bonus percentage off their sales, but the salary is majority of their income. Majority of the work they're putting in, though, is actually selling, because that takes a lot of work and a lot of hustle and a lot of grind, but they're not getting paid. Their income's a smaller percentage of most of the work that they're putting in.
Right.
But to answer your question, any advice I would have is something I learned over the years. You can't live your life in fear or move in fear. Essentially, it's not going to get you anywhere. I think a lot of people tend to look at like getting into commissions only as like a big risk. I think the bigger risk would not be doing anything or just staying in the same spot. And I think people need to really look at, depending on what their current job is, how hard would it be to just go back to that job that you're already doing? Right. You know what I mean? If you could just go right back to it, then what are you so afraid of?
Yeah, why not just
I understand like the pressure. Oh, you gotta obviously we have to make money. People got bills. So I totally understand that. But I think people underestimate themselves. Like I said, it's just fear driven. It's not confidence driven. If you're super confident in yourself, like you won't allow yourself to fail, essentially. Like you will figure it out. And I think people underestimate when you actually have that pressure applied to you, like that will force you to just get the job done.
Right.
I think another thing too, though, like that people might be scared of is like going into a sales job. I feel like you have to put full time and commitment into it, and you're losing a lot of that back end. So a lot of people are like, that might be a good opportunity, but then what about everything else I have going on? Like say, you got a podcast or you do side stuff on the side and you have a hustle and you have something that could be breaking out there. Yeah. But you're like, oh, well, I could take this secure job, which really isn't unless you grind to do it. But at the same time, it's a grind, like you said.
Right.
You were partying and stuff, and you said that's when but then once you hyper focused and went into it, that's how you level up. So what would you say to people like that, where they're like, I'm not trying to go fully into it at the same time, or they're scared to like kind of do that? Because you got to balance work and life, and you have a family. So how do you balance all that, and what would you say to somebody who wants
I don't have a family yet. I don't have kids yet. But essentially for people that do have kids, that's obviously I can't relate to that yet, but obviously that takes a lot more sacrifice. I would just tell people you got to pick one thing. You know what I mean? You got to pick one thing. If you want to start a business, like just pick one business and just go all in on that one business. If you're trying to do, 4 or 5 things at once, now each one of those things is getting 20%, 25% of your time. Where if you just took 100% of your time into one thing, I think that's where the fast growth and the real growth happens. But to answer your question, some people aren't willing to make those sacrifices, but it depends on what you're sacrificing. I would say unless you have kids and a family, that's a different story.
Right, absolutely.
For people that don't, or they're not married yet also, you don't have a wife, but even if you do have a wife without kids, that's a whole different scenario too.
Absolutely.
Like, look at your life. What are you really sacrificing? You know what I mean?
If you don't have other mouths to feed, then
yeah, like this is what I used to always tell myself, like a couple years in to the business, like what would I be doing right now if I wasn't working? You know what I mean? Like what would I be doing? I would be just chilling. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
if you're seeking comfort, it's definitely not the right fit.
100%.
If you're someone that's seeking comfort, I don't think that's necessarily a good thing to seek comfort.
yeah,
Not
You're just
at
going
all.
to stay stagnant.
yep.
So I think people really need to just look at their lives and those things that they may have to sacrifice. Really, is that fueling you in any way, shape, or form? Is that serving you in any way, shape, or form? Those things that you may, or people even that you may have to leave behind. Yeah.
No, I've done sales in multiple industries, multiple verticals. I still do sales. I mean, we all sell something in one way or another. The biggest thing, not for myself particularly, but for new salesmen, is rejection.
Yeah.
I think that's probably one of the biggest things in sales.
Yes.
How do you handle rejection? How could somebody at home handle rejection when selling anything?
Yeah, I think if you're new to it, when it first starts happening, it definitely has a bigger impact on you, like compared to now. Like you just kind of brush it up. You're just so kind of used to it at that point. It doesn't really affect you. You just got to understand, it sounds corny or cliche, but it's not a failure. It's just a lesson. You know what I mean? So we get off an appointment, or a new agent gets off an appointment, and they get told no, they don't close the deal. Well, we just evaluate, okay, why? All right, you need to do this better. Shouldn't have done this. Shouldn't have done this. And then you just make the tweaks, and you keep getting the reps in, and you keep making all the tweaks. And then with time and more repetition, it gets better. You got to let your ego go.
Don't let it phase you.
Yeah,
right?
you got to let your ego go. You're going to get told no. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's
I
going
feel
to
like that goes with life in general.
Mm-hmm.
Approaching a woman, approaching anything, a new job opportunity or anything, you're going to get rejected no matter what.
You're going to get more no's than you will yeses in life or in
100%.
sales, but the yeses can be big yeses.
Yep.
I think it's also just a numbers game, would you say?
Yeah, I have an interesting take on that, and I didn't come up with it myself. This guy on Instagram, Jeremy Lee Miner, if you guys
I've
watch
heard of
him,
him.
he's like one of these sales gurus. So he says it's not a numbers game. Your skill level just needs to get better. You know what I mean? I partially believe in that. I think starting off, though, it really is just a numbers game because you will just walk into those easy yeses. But in order to do that, you have to have enough, appointments, whatever the business is, to have the opportunity to find that one just easy yes, where you didn't really have to be the best closer to close that deal. And I think from there, though, it's still a numbers game because you'll still find those laydowns, those easy ones. But there's majority of people, at least in our business, like they're going to want to think about it. I'd say that's most of the scenarios. So you have to be able to have your skill set to a certain point to be able to close those ones. So you're not just closing the ones that are just an easy yes, and that's the only deals that you can close. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So besides dealing with rejection, being able to talk fluently and efficiently, what are some other soft skills that a successful salesperson should have?
I don't know if it's a soft skill, but just commitment and just working really hard. The people that work the hardest in sales will beat the ones that are most talented that aren't working hard, just like anything else. Like we all hear that saying, so truly I believe working hard, but you're only going to work hard if you're actually committed to it. So like we were talking about a second ago, being 100% just bought into what it is that you are doing, like everything else comes after that. Like if you have this inkling of doubt, you know what I mean, or that fear, and we all have it, You know what I mean?
But you can't feed into that.
You can't feed into that. You can't let it like move you, or fuel you. It's not going to get you anywhere.
It can be there. I almost feel like it's necessary to be there because it kind of keeps you on your edge.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like you said, you can't get too comfortable.
Yes.
So as long as you have that fear, it can be there. That's fine. But that'll just keep you on your toes so you'll be prepared for whatever comes next.
Yes. But being just 100% bought in, like the soft skills that you mentioned, like all of that stuff will just come after that. I think people don't fully get 100% bought in and committed to what it is that they're doing, whether it's a job or even a relationship, you know what I mean? I think more so today in our generation, and I think it might be getting worse with the younger generations too. Like people can't stay committed to a relationship or a job, whatever it may be. You know what I mean? I think a lot of people are looking for everyone needs everything right now.
Yeah, instant gratification.
Yeah. Therefore, when they don't get it after a little bit of work, they're gone.
They're trying to find something else
The
that's going to do it.
next best thing. And
It's almost like those pictures you see where the miner's right there, almost to the diamonds, and he turns around.
Yep.
Crazy. So how important are time management skills and like organization skills?
Yeah, that is pretty important. I'd say I was horrible at managing my time when I first started off. Like that first year in the business, I mean, I wasn't even really trying to manage my time, to be honest with you. It's just everything was kind of a free-for-all. You got to manage your time. I never had like a schedule or a calendar a day in my life. Like that is just totally was never me. Pretty like impulsive, just go do this, go do that.
Flow.
Yeah, but now if it's not on a calendar, like I'll just forget to do it. Won't get it done.
Yeah, I feel like that's huge. You got to be able to see it. That's like a big thing for me. Very visual. Like I got to see everything in line and boom, 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 and just knock it out one step at a time. Because that can be overwhelming too. A lot of people, they get everything and it's all jumbled up and there's no organization to it. What people don't understand is they got all these goals and objectives and they're trying to do everything at once and not putting their focus on just one thing. Knock it out. Next.
Yeah, during that time, only do that thing.
Exactly.
It's marked down, scheduled.
And don't worry about the
do about
next
anything.
step. Get
Exactly.
to that once you get there.
Exactly. Right. But if it's not planned out, you're going to go do this, and then something's going to interrupt, and you're going to be doing this. And then
you're going to get overwhelmed.
Exactly.
And you're going to be like, I got all this going on over here and over here. You're going to be running around losing your mind. Yeah, it's no good.
So walk us through the organization of the company itself. Are you guys all under, it's Globe Life? Is that?
Yeah, essentially. Yeah.
Okay. And now do you work directly for Globe Life, or you guys have your own sort of brand amongst that? How does all of that organization of the company work?
Yeah, so Globe Life's like our parent company, essentially. So we're financially backed by them. They have, I think it's the most policyholders out of any insurance company in the country.
Wow.
Pretty big company.
You guys have stadiums and shit like.
Yeah, they're like traded on the stock market, Fortune 500 company, and then we're the union branch of Globe Life, so American Income Division, and then essentially beneath that you have like our own agencies and teams within that.
Okay.
It's a pretty big company, so every team, every agency within the company, pretty much it's totally different. For the most part, like what team you land on or agency you land on.
Regional, or is it just who you know?
What do you mean?
Like how are your guys' teams laid out? Is like one team handles like the Ohio?
Good question. No, it's all over. So I got guys, Missouri, North Carolina, all over the place.
Yeah.
Nice. Damn. So they could just be wherever. So where's the main HQ though?
So there's an office in Brunswick, and then we have our like agency has an office in St. Louis as well.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, sweet.
We don't really go to it.
Don't go there.
You don't have to.
You don't have to.
Yeah. You know what
I think that's huge for the future of business because it's really an old school thing where everybody needs to be in office. You're saving so much money in overhead, saving money on and the cost associated with that office, anything like products, paper, utilities and stuff like that. So I definitely think it's the future of remote work if people can be incentivized properly to do their work.
Yeah, productive.
You know what I mean? You got to be productive to be able to maintain that lifestyle. So how many people are on your team?
We got about 10 guys right now.
10 guys. So you are leading 10 guys.
Yeah, and then we got a bunch of people that are in training, probably 6 or 7 that are newer.
New guys training.
So
And
10 guys on a team, that's a lot of people to look over, huh?
Yeah. There's teams much larger than that. We're still growing.
So what do you do when somebody's lacking on the team? How do you identify that, and what do you do to get them back on track?
Yeah, so I think it's important to find out what people want first. Like what everyone's goals are different. You know what I mean? Not everyone wants to make $200,000 a year, and that's totally fine. 60, 100. Everyone's goals are different. So for me, just holding people accountable to their goals, reminding them of their goals. Like, hey, you said you wanted to pay this off by the end of summer. Do you think the work you're putting in is correlated with the goal that you have? So things like that, and also just helping them with their actual skill set. So have guys record their appointments, and then we'll review them, do like film review, make adjustments to their presentation and everything, things like that. Yeah.
So what do you do about like letting somebody go? Like if somebody's just not listening, they're doing bad, they're letting the team down, and everything's just. So how do you go about if have you had to do that?
Oh yeah, plenty of times.
So how do you go about that?
So essentially, I will only let someone go if their effort is not there. And it's pretty clear to like tell. It's not hard to tell if someone's effort is there or not. Like if you're not getting the results, it's totally fine. You're working really hard. Like we're gonna keep you around and keep helping you and keep working with you. You give them a couple opportunities. Hey, like the effort's down. Like what's going on? Give them a couple more chances, and then after the second or third time, if they're still not putting forth the effort, yeah.
You ever had like some crazy excuses that somebody's coming to you with? Like,
people,
come on, dude, really?
Yeah, all the time. People will throw stuff.
people will say the craziest shit.
Yeah,
It's like anything.
and
I got to go water my fish.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, I think back though to when I was younger. Like I'm not gonna lie, I was doing the same thing at my old job. But that was like cleaning pools. So I don't know.
I think you put it well, though. It's what do you want out of life? Where are you at in life, and how are you going to achieve what you want, given where you're at?
Yeah.
It's all about what that person wants. I think you put it perfectly.
Yeah.
That was well said.
So how does work-life balance work for you? Are you one of those guys that are like, screw work-life balance, or do you like to work hard, play hard?
So I think, once again, you can't seek comfort, right? But I think going back to like time management in a sense, like I think you can work quite a bit and still make sure and have your relationship, be in order. For me though, like work was definitely affecting my relationship a little bit at certain moments.
With your girlfriend?
Yeah, but you just like, that's more so just on me. Like there's enough time in you know what I mean, in the week, in the month to get things done, but also who you're with, I'd say that's even more important when it comes to work-life balance. Like, if you're in a business that's taking up a ton of your time, that's a huge priority, obviously. If you are with someone that does not support you in that, your life will be hell.
Yeah.
It'll never work. So
Constantly be bickering, constantly not enough time for me, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah, this and that, and that's like.
And how long have you been with your girlfriend?
it'll be 3 years in the fall.
Nice.
Yeah.
You see a future with her?
Yeah. Yep.
And how important is having a significant other to your growth professionally and personally?
Huge. You got to have someone there that knows you, that can check you on certain things, keep you grounded in certain areas as well. So yeah, like I said, it wouldn't work if she didn't. You know what I mean? Like it just simply, like my job would not work.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's huge.
So there's a few more topics we want to get into, just particularly about yourself and a little bit outside of your work. But before we do that, I think we should get into the halftime report.
Yeah,
So I'll explain it to you and to those at the camera. The people at home have heard this a million times. Hadley leads the charge on a halftime report. 10 or so questions that can be completely related or completely unrelated. Answer them to any length, and you can decline to answer if you do choose so. But that says a lot more than answering it. I will.
I cannot decline.
You can if you want.
can.
Oh, I can.
But it speaks volumes. I'll say
Okay,
that.
all right.
Saying pleading the fifth says sometimes more than
Yeah,
saying.
we had some guys who declined some really weird questions before, and I'm like, that says a lot about you.
All right.
And I'm just gonna sit here and commentate.
And Nick throws in his stuff too, which I think it's funny.
Yeah, I like
sure.
that.
All right, hit me.
All right. Well, the first one is cool because we haven't really got into none of the running or anything, and I know you did some running and shit. So, what's a marathon PR that you're most proud of,
Well, I haven't ran a
or
whole
just a half or whatever?
I think it may have been, honestly, what was the 10K we did?
The Akron 10K.
Yeah, I think that was like,
You were moving on
that was probably like my best time, even though it's just a 10K. But the one I was most proud of. And
What was your time on that?
it was, it wasn't even that great of a time, but for me, it was like 50, I think.
That's a good time.
For a
50,
10K?
51.
We had 101.
Yeah.
So that's funny you say that because that was when we were like starting out running.
Mm-hmm.
And my goal for that was to break 60 minutes.
Yeah.
Which I think is a very
That's
attainable
a good-
goal.
yeah.
I think it's a good goal, especially for a beginner. And I'll never forget that race because I'm like, I had like the paces down. I had everything down to a science. I'm like, at mile this, I have to be at this. I had everything down to a science.
Yeah.
To hit that 60 minutes, right? What I didn't account for is having to go to the bathroom. And not just a piss that I can hold. Like,
Right in the beginning, like what was
we're
that?
like mile one or
one
two.
and
And
it's
dude,
like,
if I didn't stop at a porta potty, I would have painted the streets. It was so
Oh,
terrible. So I went to the bathroom and I got a 101.
Damn.
I was pissed.
Damn.
Because
Well,
if I hadn't have gone to the
you
bathroom, I
would
would have broke that
cleared
60.
it easily.
You know what I mean? So I'll never forget that. But that was a cool race.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah.
All right. Here's one I was interested in too, like for just curious. When you're doing your sales and your work and stuff, do you prefer like everything to be on your phone and mobile in hand, laptop or desktop work?
That's a good question. Desktop now, just because I'm more used to it. But my first like 2 years, I had 2 laptops. But now that I've had a desktop for a little while, desktop. It's just so much easier.
So you saying it's easier to have everything centralized?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
You think so too?
Yeah.
Desktop all day.
Yeah, I mean, I use a
You
laptop.
have like 5 monitors.
I have like 5 screens. I have 3 laptops. But I'm always mobile though. But I do have my central office where everything is housed. So I agree with that. I want to get a desktop soon. One of those the little Mac ones they have. So yeah, definitely a desktop.
All right. So when you're doing your pitches, do you think this is a this or that type of deal? Would you rather go at it at a more romantic way or a comedic way if you're giving a pitch?
On the sales aspect?
What do you mean by that?
Yeah, what do you mean?
I mean, like, are you more like because I feel like you got to pick it, right? Like if you're on the phone with a female, do you almost have like a more flirtatious vibe, or are you more strict, or are you like more funny, like let's try to make them laugh or try to get on their good side?
I see what you're
You know
saying.
what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying because you can't talk to a guy like how you talk to a girl.
Exactly.
Yeah, I definitely don't flirt when I'm on a sales call. I definitely don't do that. But the questioning is right. Like you got to chameleon yourself to the person that you're talking to. You got to identify, all right, what kind of personality is this person?
Yes.
And then that's going to determine how you're going to kind of be talking. If you're going to crack a joke or two, or if you're just going to get straight to the point, because this person's going to read through your joke and they're going to think you're trying to woo them over. Therefore, now you're attached to the sale. You're trying to get something out of them. They're picking up on that.
It's like a chess game.
Yeah, so it really depends on the person. Whatever the personality type of the
You got to
person
go
of
off of their.
You have to. Yeah, because if
Every
you're
time.
not playing into their personality, you're going to be rubbing them the wrong way. They're not going to trust you or whatever the case may be.
Agree 100%.
Yeah.
You got to be a chameleon in sales because nobody's the same.
Yeah.
And if you use one by the book
No.
sales pitch for everybody, you will fail.
Yeah.
You have to be able to adapt to the person. 100%.
What item do you hope will be obsolete in 20 years?
So, wow. That's a good one. That's a deep one. These first 3 were pretty easy.
Yeah, we're getting
Obsolete.
Yeah.
Do I hope would be
That is tough. I can't even.
You
goodness.
told me to bring some fire over here.
Yeah, I did tell you. that.
This is going to be a tough one.
We could swing back to it.
Cars that you have to drive yourself.
Really?
Just get rid of them all.
Mr. Tesla over here.
You just think every car should be able to drive themselves on the road?
Yeah,
That'd be better.
I think they will be able to eventually. Too.
Do you have FSD on your Tesla?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yep.
Nice. I like Tesla a lot. I'm a gas vehicle guy, but I don't see anything wrong with electric vehicles. I drove a Cybertruck when I was down in Florida recently, and I was like, this thing's fucking awesome. Such a cool car. They're really fast.
Yes.
So
I
I'm
think
here for Tesla.
I think every car being able to drive themselves is horrible.
Why?
And I'll tell you why. Because if a car can drive itself, you don't have control over that car, especially if there's no steering wheel and no gas and no pedals. That means that somebody else has control over that vehicle. What's going to stop them from putting restrictions on limits? You don't pay this amount of money, you can't leave this
argument.
county.
That's probably the best argument for it.
And that's
to
the
be
only
against
thing
it.
that I'm thinking of. Or you're in your car and they're like, oh, you're doing something illegal. Whoop,
Oh, you went
lock
too
the
far.
car.
Yeah.
You're speeding, take you to the police station.
True.
Like, come on.
Yeah.
How could you speed
It's a
if
good
it's driving
argument.
itself? But I mean, still though, like it's
Probably not obsolete. I was just trying to think of something, to
I
be
think
honest.
I definitely think that's a good argument.
Yeah.
But what I'll say to counter that is self-driving autonomous vehicles are marginally safer drivers than the average
By
human
far.
being.
By far.
So I think if everybody had a self-driving vehicle, there would be a drastic reduction in car crashes,
Oh, without a doubt.
deaths, and everything else.
They're
They're
pretty much,
extremely
they've
safe.
proven that at this point.
Like I believe the number was like 70% safer.
Yeah,
than the
I
average
just
driver.
saw a graph. It's for every million miles driven, there's an average of 4 accidents by people that drive in the cars. And I think Tesla, it was like 0.4 or something
I
per
believe that
million.
wholeheartedly.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
And-
So it is much safer.
And you don't really understand how safe it is until you are behind that FSD and it's driving better than you would drive. You know what I mean? Like
100%.
it's crazy. It is.
That is.
That was a good question, though.
If you could make the ultimate sandwich, what would be on it?
Oh gosh, I love how different each
I
one
told
is.
you. It's just,
The ultimate sandwich.
Yeah.
but this is how we get to know you.
Yeah, no, for
You know what
sure.
I mean?
Well, my girlfriend she made the same prosciutto with mozzarella and then balsamic glaze. You know, like the mozzarella, like the ball of mozzarella. Yeah.
Those are
Throw like a couple of those on there.
that actually sounds cool.
And balsamic glaze.
Fire.
Yeah, that's a fire sandwich.
Yeah.
That's fire for sure.
Very light, very crisp, healthy.
Yes.
Fire.
That's fire. I want one right now. That'd be so good. What do you find unforgivable, if anything?
Great question.
That is a great question. Well, with what I believe in my faith, we're supposed to be very forgiving. You know what I mean? Does that mean like let just think someone do something to you like over and over again? No. You know, more so like forgive them in your heart for it, but you don't have to like
Don't I even have to talk to them ever?
yeah, you don't have to like be friends with them.
Forgive, but don't forget.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, but unforgivable. I don't. Guess it depends on what context.
I guess for me, it would be probably the biggest would be loyalty. In terms of a relationship, if
Yeah.
you're disloyal, that's something I can't come back
Yeah,
from.
that would. Yeah,
If you're a friend or a brother, well, like loyalty is
Loyalty is
utmost.
huge. That's
So
huge. That's probably mine too. Unforgivable. Like as soon as you cross that and break that bridge, it's like that's fine. You know, you go do you. I won't send any hate your way, but
yeah,
and I guess the word unforgivable might be not really the right word because you can forgive them for what they did to you, but like you said, just cut the ties.
be done with it.
Don't particularly interact with that person anymore. So yeah, for sure.
What makes you truly happy?
I would say God is the like when you say truly happy, I just think of like actually being fulfilled and not feeling like you're like you need something to like fulfill the void of whatever it may be.
Right.
But God is the only Jesus, the only thing that can bring me full fulfillment and peace.
I love that answer.
Good answer.
That's a great answer. Wow.
Same here.
Would you rather live the rest of your life in total sunlight or total darkness?
Sunlight.
For sure.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure. He's about to move to Charleston,
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
so the guy likes the sunlight.
for sure.
But I think without sunlight, I mean, you can't grow, right? You look at a plant, you take it out of the sun, it's going to die. As a human, vitamin D is the only vitamin that we make naturally. And how do you get vitamin D? from the sun.
That's true.
So you'll be
But it
sick.
would be kind of cool just living somewhere all night sky and like.
I don't think that would be
think
fun
it'd
at
be
all.
kinda
Well, I kind of agree with you because I'm more of like a night person than a day person, to be honest with you.
But it's something about that sunshine that gives you that
Yeah.
extra push.
It
that
juices you up.
That is
Like,
true too.
it definitely juices you up. It energizes you for the day. It does. I mean, I see both, but
I do too. Yeah,
I think I'd rather be in the daylight all the time rather than the sun.
sure.
I think that's.
Then I'll be tan all the time too. That'd be sweet.
That too.
If you could have a lifetime supply of anything, what would it be?
Don't want to sound too much like a douche, but lifetime supply of money for sure. Yeah, lifetime supply of money.
Hell yeah.
Yeah,
Hell yeah. Money is great.
For sure.
I want to be clear. Like, money is definitely not everything. You know what I mean? But like, I think people are just like one extreme or the other. Like a lot of the times, it's like, oh, I don't care about money. You know what I mean? Well, that's just not like responsible. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
that.
no,
You know, like that.
You have to.
That's not responsible. And then I think other people on the other end, it's like money is like the core of everything. You know what I mean? I think finding the in between. You know?
Like, no, you need money to supply for stuff, but no, money isn't everything.
Yes, for
I
sure.
think money can be the medium to have everything else that you want. If you want to have a fulfilling family and you want all these kids, well, unfortunately, it costs money to have a lot of
Exactly.
kids. Food, diapers, clothing, school, prom, cars. It all takes a lot of money. If you like to travel the world, you need money. Anything that you want to do that can bring you happiness requires money. So I think you have to look at it from that perspective. Everybody at home money is important, but don't make it the center of your attention. Use it as a medium to achieve the happiness that you want.
Yeah, that and it just helps solve problems.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
It does.
Like,
100%. You can't get around that.
yeah.
Last question here, actually. So, this one I'd like to put my sense into as well because I know my answer.
Not allowed.
But
Joking.
when you're going on a vacation somewhere, going somewhere, would you rather drive or fly?
Fly.
Really?
All
Yeah.
day.
That's what everybody says. I like to
All
drive.
fucking day.
Fly. We just
really?
drove to Charleston probably a few weeks ago. That was the first time I've driven that
You
far
didn't like to
in
drive?
so
Through
long.
the mountains and seeing all this stuff?
Like, it's cool. It's just,
It's so time consuming.
yeah, it
especially
takes.
when you're a busy person.
Yeah,
like,
it took like 12 hours to drive there. I mean, that's the whole day. You know what I mean? Not only
you can
that.
make- you can make calls while you're driving.
Yeah, you can, but like, I'd rather just fly. I'd rather just fly.
you can make calls while driving and you can be efficient, but it's nowhere near the efficiency you'll have
Yeah.
being in front of your laptop at a desk or something. Like,
Yeah.
and it is time consuming too. But
I just think road trips are fun.
It
Like, personally, I
can
do.
be. I agree with that.
I think it's if you intentionally set out to go have a road trip, you get an RV, you and a couple people are going traveling across the country. That's
Stopping
different.
along the way.
That's
yeah,
different.
That's way different.
yeah.
If I'm just trying to get to Florida, I'm not driving 17 hours. I will
shot.
fly there and be there
No
2.5
chance.
hours.
No
But then
chance.
you fly there and then you got to Uber the whole time or rent a car. That's
Well,
fine.
I know people in Florida, so I get around. But
Oh.
rent a car. I mean,
Yeah,
who
just
cares?
rent a car.
Yeah.
Who cares? 100,
The
200
time
dollars,
you
who
get
cares?
back is worth spending the
Yeah.
money. on.
That's exactly it. Is time is the most precious resource. So if you can save yourself some time by purchasing things that save you time, trade-off is always equal for
Yep.
sure. Well, that was a excellent segment of the halftime report. How'd you like that?
It's good. I like very versatile there.
Yeah, you came out with some questions. I was slightly impressed. I'll give it to you. All right, so the second half of this, bottom half, let's just focus on the future of Santino Ciocca.
Yeah, what's next?
So you are moving to Charleston, correct? You're leaving the semi-glorious state of Cleveland, Ohio.
Yes. Yep.
Why are you going to Charleston?
I think a couple reasons. Quality of life.
Okay.
We were talking about the sunshine. I think that's crucial. We were talking before we started. Like, the winter months just becomes. Oh, I think it's great here. Like right now, summer. You know what I mean? But during the winter, man, it's brutal. You know, you can't go anywhere, do anything. It's
miserable.
cloudy every single day.
Yep.
Freezing cold. So I
Can't
think,
get out the driveway.
yeah, I think that is the biggest reason. That alone is the biggest reason.
That's enough.
Yeah, that right there is enough. Just getting out of the winter. You know what I mean? In the cold, and also just a little bit of a change. Switch things up a little bit. I think your environment is crucial. You know.
Do you think you'll stay there long term?
We don't know yet. We're gonna stay there for a year, and then
See how you like it.
Just see from there.
Feel the vibes out.
So what are some of the drawbacks of moving away from Cleveland?
Family. That'd be the biggest one.
Biggest one.
Yeah, family.
Yep.
Have you been away from family for a long period of time yet? Or
No, I moved to Chicago for it was 4 months.
Yeah.
But yeah, my sister's got a couple kids now. My brother's about to have a kid. So that is by far the biggest thing. But could just come back whenever.
Absolutely.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Fly back.
And at the end of the day, it's your life.
Yeah.
You gotta live it for yourself, and you gotta,
Yeah.
do what's good for you. And still, because how else will you ever be able to be the person that you want to be for somebody else unless you're looking out for yourself?
Yeah, for
You
sure.
gotta do that.
So obviously you can work remote, you can work anywhere, but how does moving to Charleston change and impact your current position today?
I think it doesn't really negatively impact anything, if anything, positively. New people to meet, new people
Yeah.
to kind of recruit and see. Cleveland's kind of a little oversaturated a little bit.
And it's
Yeah.
smaller.
Yeah, it's smaller. Sometimes the small places aren't bad. You know what I mean? You go to certain places and certain cities, everyone's got they do the same thing. They got a full-blown career already. You know what I mean? So sometimes the smaller places aren't bad. But I would say meeting new people, continuing to grow the team down there, and also being in a place that's actually people would want to go to helps a lot, because a lot of my guys are out of state. You know what I mean? So rather than having to take a trip somewhere every time to get the team together, it also will help. They can just come down there, and also they can move there too. So we can be actually in the same city.
Actually, it's sweet. That's a good take on it. I wasn't even thinking about that. Having the team fly out to where you're at.
Yeah.
That is a good spot.
Because if they come out to here, there's only 2 months they can come out here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Now, are you going to? You'll stay on the same team, right? But are you guys going to start your own little agency down there, or how's that going to work?
Yeah, so it'll just be essentially the same thing it is right now.
Okay.
Same team, because we got, like I said, guys all over the place already. So yeah,
I gotcha. And is anybody from up here moving? Not particularly with you in the house, but have you planned with some of your teammates or anybody to come down here?
Yeah, so there's actually 2 people down there right now that I work with. That's another reason to move down there. There's already 2 guys down there, and then there's a few other people that are planning to. That's kind of in the works.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you'll go down there. You already know people.
Yeah.
You have shit set up. You'll be able to.
Which helps a lot.
You can get acquainted quickly.
Yeah.
Now, how did you decide on Charleston?
Well, it's
There's
funny.
A lot of nice cities in the South.
Yeah, no, for sure. My cousin went to college. 2 of my cousins went to college in Charleston. And one of those schools that I visited, I was talking about playing baseball in college potentially. One of the schools was in Charleston. That was when I was 17 or 18. And we took a family trip down there also. That was when I was a kid. So from talking to my cousin how much she loved it from going to college down there, and I had been there, a couple of times. And then 2 of the dudes I work with, they already went down there. And we had been talking about that for years at this point. The 2 guys that are down there now, we had been talking about trying to move down there for the past 3 or 4 years.
Right.
So
it was just makes sense at this point.
It's already been in motion for a while.
Yeah,
You've had it
just haven't
already
pulled
in your
the
head.
trigger.
Just
Yeah.
that's it. Pull the trigger on it.
So the future of Santino with the company, what are your future goals? How are you going to grow the company? Is there a certain amount of people you want on your team?
Yeah.
Do you want to level up? What's up?
Yeah, so we'd like to get to 50 agents by the end of the year, for sure. And then from there, wherever God takes me, I think you got to be almost kind of carefully careless in a sense. We were talking about this at this Bible study I do with my cousins. I I used to get very caught up with like trying to be in control of every last thing. Like it's good, you have to be, you know, like it's kind of like the balance of the money, right? Like we were talking about one extreme or the other. When it comes to trying to be in control of everything, you got to take a step back sometimes. Like just understand, just trust the work that you're putting in, but also just trust that at the end of the day, it's really like
It's not up to you.
It's not, in a sense, not in your control. So wherever God allows or blesses this thing to go, that's kind of my mentality. All the while, not just sitting back and not doing anything.
Right.
All the while, like definitely grinding and trying to grow and scale it for sure.
For sure. And what about you still running? You still doing marathons and
Dude,
stuff?
not as much. That was like a stretch there where I just wanted to kind of test myself.
Same. Right.
Yeah, I'm not running too.
Like,
Yeah, you guys don't
yeah,
too. Yeah.
We did a half in October,
Nice,
sub 2:30 on the half,
nice.
and then we kind of just fell off a little bit on the running. I had an injury that I'm still dealing with. That was my main reason. He's just like, dude,
I was
the
losing
running
so
is-
much weight. Like I was up to like 180 when I left South Carolina, and then I started running, and I went down to like 140, dude.
Yeah, that I'd say it's not the main reason I stopped, but yeah, it's hard for me to gain weight.
Same.
You know what I mean?
Very
So if
hard.
I'm running all the time,
It's impossible.
you know, when I first started running around that time when we did that run, it was more so a mental test, but I wanted to
I agree.
be able to run a marathon and just like test myself on that. So I did the half marathon in Cleveland. And man, that was.
It was-
I mean,
it was
you guys
hard.
did it.
Did you do a full or no?
No.
You said that you haven't.
Yeah, but definitely will do a full.
Yeah.
for sure.
That
That's-
half is a
yeah.
smack in the face.
That's what we were like. We're like, okay, let's run a full, because it is a mental test.
It's
because
all mental.
Anybody can go run a mile. Anybody can run 2 miles.
Yeah.
Maybe not anybody, but to go out there and do it for 13 miles over and
It's-
over, it's more tough mentally than it is physically,
Yes.
because
Yeah.
1 mile hurts, 5 miles hurts, 13 miles hurts, but
Mm-hmm.
you really just want to give up, and it's like, am I really going to let myself give up?
The whole time, yeah. Especially for me, like once I hit mile 5, I'm like, this is horrible. What am I doing?
Yeah, because you're thinking about you still have 8 left. Like,
Yeah.
Like it's
you know what I mean? It's
I
not
gotta
like
do
you're
this
running
almost 3 times again.
not a 10K where you got like a mile left or even a couple miles left. The fact that it's like, wow, you just did 5 miles and you still have 8 to go.
I still have
That's
to double it and something.
I mean, but it's definitely an accomplishment of itself intrinsically, because you told yourself you would do something and then you did it. So that's
Yes.
an accomplishment. But also in the terms of everybody else, not a lot of people can say they've done that or even attempted to do that,
Mm-hmm.
let alone complete it in a good time.
Yeah, I think like I said at the start of this, people underestimate themselves. I think a lot of people probably, who knows? I think more people, I would say, lack confidence than have confidence. But you gain confidence by doing, like you said, the things you said you were going to do, but also doing things that are challenging. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm going to run a half marathon. You know, and then you do it, and then you start to, I'm actually capable of doing something that is challenging, and then therefore now you have confidence.
Yep.
You know.
And it fucking sucks the whole time. But the moment you cross that finish line and you're like, I did it,
Yep.
that's when you feel great.
Yep.
That is when you feel great.
fantastic.
What'd you get on that half? Do you remember?
Dude, I have no idea. It was not a good time. There were people beating me I couldn't believe were beating me just by looking at them. It didn't make any sense. So that time definitely was
After
not
we
good.
ran our half, I was walking around Detroit like the penguin. Like I could
Dude.
barely move.
The whole rest of the day, the next day, that whole same day and the next day, done.
Yeah.
was
Like,
horrible.
You're done for.
It's
pain.
like nothing you can do.
I do kind of miss it though, because I don't know. I found it to be fun. You guys are looking at me like I'm crazy.
No, I mean,
mean,
it
I like
definitely
the
was. It is fun.
accomplishment.
Yeah,
Yeah, like,
the
I like the
challenge. It is.
mental
Fun.
And the
push.
races are cool. You get the medals.
Yeah.
You meet
It was.
people.
It was for
was
sure.
We
fun.
met some cool people from those races. At that Akron one, I met a dude named Ben. He's actually coming on the pod. He's got his own marketing agency, like all types of stuff. So it's
That
like
guy was running.
this guy, this
dude,
Ben
no.
guy at that Akron.
That dude was.
We met him at the Akron event that you were there, and random guy complimented me on my hat, and we started talking to him, mingling, whatever. This guy was like, yeah, this is like my first or second official race ever. He's like, I don't run. He's like, last week I just started jogging. He walked on and did a half marathon, after no training and ran like a 5-minute pace through the whole thing.
Like we
Was he-
finished
was
our
lying.
race and he was right
lying.
behind us.
There's no way.
I don't think he was lying because he was like a basketball and a baseball player, like he's fresh out of collegiate athletes or something like that.
Oh, okay.
So he was-
that's
he was high, he was super in shape.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he's like he
He
just
just
like
didn't run a lot.
just didn't run a lot.
He was like a college athlete.
yeah, he was a college
fresh
athlete or
off
something
of
like that. Yeah, fresh out of that. So
Okay, that makes a little more
But
sense.
I was
That's
like-
still crazy though.
which is still crazy because it's a different type of training for
is.
that.
Yeah, it's totally different.
And I was like, wow, this guy's a savage. He just walked on and did
That's wild.
a 1 hour half or something crazy, like
that's
hour and a
crazy.
half.
Crazy, yeah.
So-
Because he literally crossed because we were all sitting there.
I think he beat us. He like beat us on a half marathon at the time that we did.
Yeah.
The
10K.
10K.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wild.
It was crazy. Like it was crazy. Or he was like a few minutes behind us. if
Something like that.
Something crazy.
Something
It was
crazy.
like,
So-
what? Yeah.
Well, what else? Anything else for the future of Santino? Or you think we touched just about everything?
That's about it, man. Like I said, wherever God takes me.
Following the path of God,
Yep.
grinding, working hard,
Yep.
and enjoying life while doing it.
Yes, sir.
Basically, wishful thinking podcast
Yeah.
slogan
That's
right
the
there.
wishful
There
thinking
you go.
in a nutshell. you know?
Yeah.
So appreciate you for coming on, brother.
Thank you guys for having me.
All you guys at home, make sure you guys follow him everywhere. We will put his social medias down below. If you're interested in joining him on his journey of what he does, you can reach out to him directly. I'm not going to lie, those guys make great money. They do a good job over there.
Yep.
Watch the Mitch episode. You can learn some from him too. Tap in with Santino. They do a good job. They make good money. So if you guys are interested, reach out to Santino directly. As always, thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe. It goes a long way. We're growing rapidly. You guys are really fucking with us. Our numbers are going up. So
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. For sure.
it's only going to go up enough from here. We're still adding more to the podcast as we come. We're having a bunch of great guests coming. So make sure you guys don't go anywhere. Stay wishful thinking for life. Wishful thinkers, I almost forgot. I didn't forget. I planned it like this. Life's a little instruction book. You guys already know at home. Santino, this is a book about life, giving instructions to people. There are 1,560 different line items. So I need you to give me a number between 1 and 1,560. It could be your favorite number, whatever.
333.
333. So here's the book. Not page 333, but line. You'll see. And then read it out loud, and we'll talk about it briefly. There we go. That's why we had to do it.
Instead of using the words if only, try substituting the words with next time.
Boom. See, this is why we needed that
That's
wishful
good.
thinking.
This is good.
So what does that mean to you?
I think your thoughts are important. I think what's even more important than that is the words you say. Right. So I guess the best example would be like an alcoholic or something, right? And someone asks them if they drink, like I'm trying to quit,
Right.
rather than no. I'm just saying no, like no, I don't drink. Instead of using the words if only, I think we could replace that with try. Like even just remove the word try entirely.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to do this, try to do that.
Yeah.
And just I'm going to do that.
Going to do.
Yeah.
I feel like it goes into like if only, like you were like, man, well, if only this happened to me, or if only that, like you're playing on yourself like it's not ever going to happen.
Yes.
And then they're saying next time, replace it with next time, so you can be like, next time it'll play out in my favor.
Yeah, have a little
That-
faith.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You got to manifest it. And I'm not a Star Wars nerd. No offense to anybody who is. But Yoda says there is no try. There is do and do not. That's it.
Shout out Yoda.
Shout out Yoda. All right, man. Appreciate you once again. Wishful
Appreciate you
thinkers,
guys.
you already know. We'll see you guys later.